we light our chalice to open our reflection today. And as we light this flame, we will hear words from Robert Kennedy. The torch still burns, and because it does, there remains for all of us a chance to light up the tomorrows and brighten the future. For me, this is the challenge that makes life worthwhile. Welcome to this, our 12th midweek reflection from the closed Sevenoaks Unitarian Meeting House here at the time of coronavirus. We gather this week, virtually of course, as the news continues to bring us stories of the fight against racism, against prejudice, an increasing awareness in the world around us and of the world around us, and the part that each of us might play in it. Today and tomorrow is the defining feature of where we are. We reflect on this today. And whether you've been here for all 12 reflections before, or whether you are here for the very first time today, or whether you're just stopping by once or twice, you are very welcome here today. Now, I wish to start with a reading, and the reading is something by the 19th century Unitarian minister, Ralph Waldo Emerson. And it is, by coincidence, the very first piece I read from this pulpit around 15 years ago. It was before I trained as a minister, long before my call here as minister, and it was a gathering of potential ministers and other worship leaders for the future. And we were asked to bring a reading we loved. And I brought this. The roses under my window make no reference to former roses or to better ones. They are what they are. They exist with God today. There is no time to them. There is simply the rose. It is perfect in every moment of its existence. But we postpone or remember. We do not live in the present, but with reverted eye lament the past, or heedless of the riches that surround us, stand on tiptoe to foresee the future. We cannot be happy or strong until we too live with nature in the present, above time. So words from Ralph Waldo Emerson. Now, having stood here for several weeks and known the only real news story was coronavirus, this has been disrupted a little by the rising and consuming discussion on racism, on privilege, on prejudice. Fueled initially by the explosive response to the brutal killing in America of George Floyd by the police in Minneapolis, the narrative has expanded to question the underlying issues that led to that explosive response in the first place. And the emerging story is, of course, around the undoubted facts of white privilege and of the historical actions, policies, beliefs that have cemented this systemic issue into our world today. Now, we cannot change the past, but we can reflect on what it meant and how we might use what it meant to improve things, and how we can make amends. Now, as Unitarians, with a clear understanding and belief that the works of God or the works of good are delivered by humans, by you and by I, we might reflect on the part that we must play in helping to create a world where love and fairness are the guiding light, where we love our neighbour as ourselves, where all are our neighbours. Now, in the reading we heard, Ralph Waldo Emerson reflects on the perfect beauty of the roses outside his window. He notes that roses are perfect at every moment of their bloom. They do not look back, they do not look ahead, they are present just now. They are, as Emerson says, perfect in every moment of their existence. Now, Emerson goes on to criticise the human approach to life, where he suggests we do not live in the moment, but instead focus on what has been, what will be, without relishing what is around us. Now, I do have some sympathy with that view, yet I suggest we are also, as sentient beings, in need of a context and an understanding in our lives too. A history and a purpose are important things. Now, our history, the history of this world, is one of the most vital elements of the Black Lives Matter discussions that are going on. A recognition of the history of our country, how we became who we are, is both helpful and necessary when we look for the goodness around us. Now, much has been made of the dramatic, perhaps iconic, toppling of the statue of Edward Colston in Bristol on Sunday. An ending of the celebration of a man who oversaw the branding and selling of tens of thousands of slaves, with nearly 20,000 men, women and children dying while chained in the giant trading ships crossing the Atlantic. Those 80,000 that survived the crossing then sold to new owners who could treat these fellow human beings in the most deplorable and degrading ways. But now, with no damage to any individuals, with no damage to personal property, the terror of Colston's activities, rather than the wonder of his wealth, were raised to national prominence. I suspect more people learned about Colston in those few hours on Sunday than had ever known about him before. And if there is anyone that feels it's still appropriate to celebrate such a man now, in this current time, I trust they've had a chance to reflect on what that says about themselves and their view on the world. Colston's removal from celebration and his role in now raising awareness of the terror of the past has edged the present a step or two closer to the perfect moment we must surely all long for. Now, the tale of Colston's statue reminds us that, unlike Emerson's roses, we do have an opportunity to learn from our past, and we are fortunate to do so. Where I fully agree with Emerson is in the importance of making the most of the now, of acting now to bring goodness and wholeness to the world, to bring heaven to earth, if you like. Now, we can plan until the cows come home, but if we do that forever, we miss the opportunity to savour the riches that surround us. And we miss the opportunity to do whatever we can to ensure everybody is able to savour those riches too. Emerson is clear. We cannot be happy and strong until we too live with nature in the present, above time. By living with nature in the present, we can become more aware of the obstacles that prevent everyone, all of our neighbours, to be happy and strong too. It's upon each of us that the burden falls to make this present moment perfect for all. Let us come together now in a time of quiet and of stillness. As we settle our bodies, perhaps closing on our eyes, focusing on our breath. I shall speak some words, and I shall strike the singing bowl, and we shall come together in stillness and quiet together. The stillness will be broken with music to continue our reflection. As we settle our bodies, becoming aware of our surroundings, feeling our connection to the place we sit and its connection to the wider world. We are part of a wider human society. Our emotions are natural. Our responses, however, might be determined by our learning, our understanding of society, our recognition of the need to work as one. What we might do to bring heaven to earth, to love our neighbour as ourselves, to bring fairness to everybody. Even as we extinguish this flame, the torch inside still burns, and because it does, there remains for all of us a chance to light up the tomorrows and brighten the future. For me, this is the challenge that makes life worthwhile.